Hello and welcome to Talking Tullahoma, a weekly podcast recapping the week's news, talking to the news makers, and looking ahead to upcoming events. I'm Kelly Lapchinsky, and today we dip into the archives for a 2015 discussion of the Body Farm at UT. After the interview, stay tuned to hear about events that are on tap in the weeks ahead. But first, here's a look back at the week ending Friday, November 14th. Now, first up, construction on the bridge replacement at Old Stone Fort State Park was set to begin last week, but a Coffee County judge has granted a temporary stay on construction for a portion of the activity that might damage the historic truss that's being removed. Now, work that doesn't directly affect that truss is still allowed. As for that portion, Chancery Court Judge William Lockhart has issued another hearing on the subject for mid to late December and has ordered the Bridge Preservation Group to pay a $260,000 bond to cover the state's expenses due to additional delays. Now, since our last episode, you've probably noticed a bit of construction work up and down Jackson Street right here in Tullahoma. At the intersection where Grundy Street meets Jackson, the Traders Bank sign and digital billboard have been replaced. Now, Traders Bank in Tullahoma dates back to the turn of the last century, so why the sudden change? Well, actually, it's not so sudden. It's been 10 years since Traders merged with Citizens Bank of Lafayette, and in that decade, the Citizens family of banks has operated under 6 different names across Middle Tennessee. Now all of those different banks are coming together under one name and one brand, Wellworth. But it's still the same company, owned and operated by the same people. Now, further north on North Jackson Street, the former Office Max building is being prepared for a new tenant. The building, which has been vacant since June, has been leased to become the new home of Tullahoma's Ace Hardware. The new store is expected to open in February, complete with a garden center and a home and gift section. 11 Tullahoma City school teachers were honored as Teacher of the Year on Tuesday night during the Board of Education meeting. That's one honoree for each of the city school buildings. But 3 of those 11 teachers were honored at the district level. The Elementary Teacher of the Year is Kelly Harper from Farah. The Middle School Teacher of the Year is Blair Clanton from West. And the High School Teacher of the Year is Amy Sisk. At the mayor's planning and coordinating meeting last Thursday, City Administrator Jason Quick announced that the Tullahoma Fire Department's annual toy drive is gearing up. Community center sign-ups will be held this year at D.W. Wilson rather than at C.D. Stamps. And families who are looking for assistance with toys can sign up on December 5th and 6th. Donations will be accepted through December 15th, and the distribution is set for December 22nd. And now we dip into the archives for a 2015 discussion of the Body Farm at UT with its founder, Dr. Bill Bass.
The Body Farm is a 3-acre research facility back of the UT Hospital in Knoxville, in which I started 44 years ago looking at how can you scientifically determine the length of time since death. I mean, when you have a dead body, 2 questions. Who is it, and how long have they been dead?
Right.
Okay, both are difficult. They really, had never, well, I won't say never, that's not right. But looking back, we, in the literature, you're looking at, okay, how do you determine the length of time since death? We had to go back 800 years to 1200 for anything in the literature, and this was a Chinese death investigator that essentially did the same thing that I'm doing 800 years ago.
Wow.
And it's kind of interesting that you got this long period of time until I get interested in the same thing that he was interested in. And what we do, we're looking at how long does decay take? And the major factor, of course, is temperature. You decay faster in the summer than you do in the winter. But there are many, many variables. you decay faster in the sun than you do in the shade. You decay faster if you have on wool clothing instead of cotton clothing, because it holds the heat in.
Traps
So
the
yeah.
heat in, okay.
But those are the things that we've been looking at, getting more and more specific and more accurate as time goes by. Essentially, when I started 44 years ago, you would say, how long does it take the right arm to fall off approach? You see, okay. Now we're getting down to, is this 6 days or 7 days in what's going on? When I came here, I knew the medical examiner. This was in the early 70s. I came June the 1st of 71. The medical examiner at that time was Jerry Francisco, who was a forensic pathologist over in Memphis, teaching in the medical school. Jerry had helped me gather data for some of my doctoral students at Kansas. And when I came here, I wrote Jerry and told him I was coming to Tennessee. He wrote back and asked if I would serve on the medical examiner's staff, and I said, sure. So the bodies that we got at that stage were bodies that came through the medical examiner's system. And in some of those, even though they are identified, the family don't want to bury them. And so then the cost of burying that body falls upon either the city or the county in which that death occurred.
Okay.
Now, it costs about $800 to bury a John Doe or Jane Doe. They would rather give me the body than to pay $800 to bury the body.
Makes sense.
So that's how I got started. Now, the body farm became very famous with what we're doing. I mean, this is different. I mean, to be honest with you, this is different. And as time has gone by, and from the research that our graduate students have done, not necessarily me, become well known, not only in the United States, but over the world.
Yes.
And we now have, most of the bodies that come in now are donated. There are people who know about this. They've decided when I die, I want my body to be used in research, and this is teaching and so forth. And so we have more bodies who are donated to the anthropology department than we do have coming through the medical examiner system.
God.
I have for many, many years lectured all around the United States, encouraging other places to have body farms. Your major factor is temperature. Not everybody lives in a temperate environment like Tullahoma or Knoxville. And so, for example, just as an example, you have Tucson, that's low desert, Tucson, Arizona. Albuquerque, New Mexico is high desert. Okay. The decay rate in those two is not the same. You're both in a desert environment, but within Arizona, it's a lot hotter than it is in Albuquerque, New Mexico, you see. Okay. Now, saying that, I really had no trouble starting out. I was doing this with the medical examiner system and doing it for law enforcement. This is something that they needed.
Right.
And so the university gave me first a sow barn out at the Holston Farm, which is where the Holston and French Broad River come together to make the Tennessee. And then, this was in 71. By 1980, business was booming, and we needed a space in closer to the university. We had started a graduate program, both a master's and a PhD. And I went back to the man at the agricultural campus that I got the sow barn from, and they gave me 3 acres back of the UT hospital in Knoxville. And so this was just across the river from the campus, and so it was a lot easier for for people to, for students to get there and do research. Have only had 2 complaints, really. I mean, real bad. We had, I don't think we have now, but we had in the late 70s a group in Knoxville called SICK, Solutions to Issues of Concern to Knoxvillians. This was a blue-collar group
Right.
that was told, if you bitch, people jump. So they found out about the body farm, and they thought, this is something, you need to be over in Oak Ridge behind the fences. And but we're not doing anything illegal, we're not doing anything immoral, so nothing ever happened to that. I mean, we stayed where we were. Now, in the early days, when the bodies all came through the medical examiner system, I didn't ask whether you'd been in the military or not. I mean, I don't go around telling people I've been in the military. I was in the Army during the Korean War, but I don't go around telling people that. Okay, but these bodies would come in through the medical examiner system, and one day I got a letter from the State Veteran Affairs, Department of Veteran Affairs, saying, we understand you have some veterans in your collection of skeletal remains. Well, I don't know. I didn't ask that question. I don't know. You tell me what the names are, and I'll tell you if we have them. We have those names in the collection. And they sent me probably 5 or 6, something like that. I've forgotten right now. And I mean, I don't want to create problems, and we did. We had the 5 or 6, and I said, you want them back? I'll ship them back to you. And so we did. We sent them back over to Nashville. But that wasn't enough for them. They thought that, what I'm doing is not right, and we ought to put you out of business. So they then drew up a bill to go through the state legislature. Now, UT, as all schools do, have a person who deals with the state legislature, and he called me one day and said, hey, they're beginning to write a bill to put you out of business. And I thought, gosh, I'm not good at politics. I mean, I don't see okay, let me do it another way. I identify bodies for all the medical examiners and all the district attorneys in the state. I don't ask the district attorney, are you a Democrat or Republican? That doesn't make any difference to me at all, you see. And I thought, I have done some pretty good cases in this state for many of the district attorneys. And so I sat down and wrote 10 of them a letter. Same letter to all 10. Tell them, the Department of Veteran Affairs is getting ready, is drawing up a bill to put me out of business. You know how important the research is because, and I listed the names of the cases that I'd helped them solve because of the research we'd done at the body farm. And I said, would you help me? Because, see, they're elected.
Right.
And so they know the legislature. Well, to make a long story short, the bill never got out of the committee because, they said, hey, this is a valuable research. We couldn't be as, I don't know the term I want to use, but we couldn't have solved as many cases we have had it not been for the research done at this facility.
Right.
And so that's the last. After that, I haven't heard anything. It's so well known.
Yeah.
It's known all over the world. I didn't set out to do that. It just happened to be an area that, because of cattle rustling in western Kansas, that's why I got the thing started. But the body farm is really a scientific research facility. It's looking at different things than you would normally think, but it's helping families. It's helping families, particularly if somebody is killed and they find somebody who may be the person that killed the individual, but they have an alibi. And you need to either support or refute that alibi. And we can do that. And we can do it scientifically, not just say, well, hold your finger in the air, which way the wind's blowing, you see.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, coming up in the next few weeks, I have got a number of great guests lined up. Julia Logan Mays will be here from Compassus Hospice. We'll take a deep dive into the history of a local cemetery. And authors Rick Vella and Elizabeth Taylor will be here to talk about their latest installments. In fact, Elizabeth Taylor's third book about Camp Forest and its legacy is available now on Amazon and at local bookstores, like the Bookshelf on Atlantic Street. And speaking of books, a couple of months ago, I put out the call for male voices to add their input to our weekly book reviews. And this week, I've got a taker. My brother Jake answered the call with the first of 3 books in a series that retells Arthurian legend through the lens of a warrior who fought beside King Arthur. Durfal Cadarn is one of the few characters from Arthurian legend who is generally believed to be a real historical person. So he's the perfect character to build a plausible historical fiction around. But to maintain historical authenticity, author Bernard Cornwell introduces period-accurate names for people and places, which can be challenging to read. So as we join Jake's review of The Winter King, he is suggesting that the book may be more readily enjoyed in an audio format.
All of this is centered in Middle England, like where Wales is, and a lot of the names are actually still in Welsh.
Yes, yes.
So
I had this experience with that book as well.
yes, and Jonathan Keeble, who does the performance of the audiobook, is one of the best ever to do audiobooks, so it's a really enjoyable listen. Just as an example, there's one guy, his name is Gorfethid. Gorfyddyd.
No.
Yeah, so I'm not getting Gorfethid from that if I didn't listen to it. So you can just make up your own names. You read the book, but the audiobook is a good way to go.
Right.
So the story, like I said, is a tale of Arthur. A lot of the names that you're used to hearing, Guinevere, Lancelot, Merlin, Uther, Mordred, are all in the book, but have some drastic, some moderately different role. We join High King Uther as his grandson and heir. Mordred is being born, and it goes through how, from that point, he is in poor health, Uther, and he's really wanting to get all the kings, because he's the High King of all Britons, Uther, and he's wanting to solidify that role as well as his grandson's place as future king of all Britons. So he calls in all the client kings to get their oath of loyalty, and all that's fine and well until Uther finally dies. And then we have a very key betrayal, which I won't unveil what that was, but the country goes into civil war, and much of the book is telling about how Arthur tries to quell the rebellion, so to speak, and keep the kingdom together. Also, throughout that, you get to witness Durfal's kind of growth as a young boy at the very beginning, as he becomes a spearman and becomes a warlord and a prominent warrior. But it all kind of culminates. The Gorfethid is the main I say villain, opponent of Arthur, through it's about a 5-year civil war, which all kind of culminates in a excellent battle scene at the very end of the book, Lug Vale, where all of this kind of comes to a head and sets up the second book. It is I'll say a family tradition that at least I do. I don't know if you do, but Dad does. Every year we'll go back and read these books every single year to go through them. There's romance storylines, there's political storylines, there's good action, and there's a good bit of, he's trying to teach you a little bit of history. It goes into a lot of detail, but not so much where it's laborious, about how they waged warfare in the 6th century with shield walls and spears, and the importance of, your left-handed, the guy on your left-hand side to cover your side, and things like that. So it goes into a lot of good detail about that. It's really super entertaining.
Yeah, I have to say, when as you mentioned, you and Dad both very much into this book, rereading and rereading. I think I've only read them the one time or listened to them the one time, but I was pulled in a way I didn't expect to be. When I hear you talking about it, and I hear you talk about battles and ancient warfare, and I'm just like, oh gosh, no. I was drawn in. I was immediately drawn in, and this character Durfel is actually a little more, in my opinion, more of a central character than Arthur himself. But it was the most I think I've ever been drawn into the Arthurian legends either. And you learn those all the way up through school. That's something that you really have a familiarity with, and you think you have pre-existing opinions about. But I was there even where it diverged from the mythology. I was right there with the book, and it made me want to read. And I never can even say the author's name correctly. Don't ask me why. I do not know. It's not hard. But it made me want to read more of his stuff.
Yeah. What he does really good is he does a really good job of developing characters where you actually care about what's going to happen to the character. Like I mentioned Kulik, who was Arthur's cousin, and he may have, I'll say, 10 pages, but you like him.
Yeah.
He's super, like you're rooting for this guy. You really like this guy. So like even the battle scenes, sure, he's talking about how, this movement and that movement, but he also makes it where he makes it personal, where some of the characters that you've really come to really admire and care about are their personal outcome and what they're doing and how it affects them and things like that. So it really draws you in with the character development without making it where it's like pages and pages and pages talking about backstory. He just kind of, the behaviors and the things and the situations really put you in a place where you care about these people, coming off the page. And the problem I have with telling the story is the stories does such a really good job going from book to book to book. Is like some characters, like my favorite character at all is Kindwin, Saren, the Star of Powys, which is not in this book. But it's like she plays such a important role through the other two books. It's like you when you go back and read them again, you kind of see the characters as through the lens from having seen them go through the whole story. So anyway, that's why it's really enjoyable to go back and do the whole series over again, because you get to see these people progress through the story and such. So
Oh, yeah.
it's very fast paced too. So unlike a lot of other books where there's a huge cast of characters, and sometimes they try to juggle all storylines at once, he does a good job of kind of taking you on Durfel's path, and then as the people kind of orbit into Durfel's life and how things have changed, and he'll catch you up what's been going on with them. But he's not trying to carry on 7 storylines at once. It's truly, like you said, Durfel's kind of going through life as an effect, and involved with Arthur and his what's going on during this time. So I think that's also very enjoyable.
The 3-book series is collectively known as the Warlord Chronicles, and it includes this book, The Winter King, as well as Enemy of God and Excalibur. Now, in each episode, I tell you about events that are coming up in the 2 weeks after the podcast drops. But the last 2 weeks of November are kind of quiet, and the week after Thanksgiving is jam-packed with activity. So this week, I'm focusing on the events that might otherwise get lost in the shuffle. With that, here's a look at what's happening. The Millennium Repertory Company presents the musical Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat for 2 weekends starting on November 14th. Evening shows on Friday and Saturday begin at 7:30, and Sunday matinees start at 2 o'clock. Tickets are $17, and you can purchase them online at millenniumrep.org. On the Saturday before Thanksgiving, November 22nd, the Wobble Gobble 5K will take over the streets of downtown Tullahoma in the early morning. Then, on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, November 29th, the Tullahoma Community Foundation will host its annual Flip the Switch tree lighting ceremony in History Park downtown. Children are invited to enter a drawing to flip the switch to turn on the Christmas lights. Mrs. Claus will be there to read to the little ones, and the live petting zoo will return complete with the fan favorite camel. The event starts at 2 o'clock and will go until dusk with the tree lighting when the sun goes down. On Sunday, November 30th, the dance and comedy troupe Triquetra will return to the Celtic Cup for the first of 6 performances of their adaptation of A Christmas Carol. The Sunday dinner theater events start at 5 o'clock on each of the 4 Sundays leading to Christmas. Tickets are on sale at the Celtic Cup and 3 dinner options are available. Now, there are also 2 free shows on Saturdays without the dinner options. Those 2 Saturdays are the 6th and the 13th at 6 o'clock. Seating is limited. And comedian Henry Cho returns to South Jackson in January, but if you want to see him, you need to get your tickets before they sell out. And they do sell out every year. In fact, seating is already limited. Tickets are $50, and you can get them online at southjackson.org. And that's what's happening. Thank you so much for joining me for this edition of Talking Tullahoma. If you've got a story or an event that you'd like to share on the podcast, call and leave me a message at 571-7186 or email news@lighttube.net. I'll be back soon with more of what makes Tullahoma tick. Until then, you can listen to Talking Tullahoma on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. New episodes drop on Thursdays. Please like and subscribe. For the video version, follow us on YouTube. Just search for TUA LightTube. I'm Kelly Lepchinsky. Catch you next week.